Thanks for listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast brought to you by Draftkings. Great deal going on right now. You throw down $5 on any game this wild card weekend, and if that team wins, you get $280 in free plays. Make it happen. It's the best place to get stuff. All right, we're joined now by Kim Doss, covers the Arizona Wildcats for AZ Desert Swarm. It's her first time on. Kim, how you doing?
Pretty good. How you doing today?
Not too bad, not too bad. So first and foremost, let's dive into it. It's got to be pretty fun covering this Arizona women's basketball team, being that when they win, it's usually a big, or when they win, it's either big, or when they win, it's Shayna Pellington at the last second.
Yeah, it is. You know, there was a lot of discussion about who was going to be the one who was willing to take that big shot. You know, who was willing to take it on this year with Aragon. And we've seen Shayna do it a couple times. We've seen Bendu do it. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun to see them step up and step out of, you know, what was kind of a shadow.
Right, for sure. What, my question was, and I was talking about this a little bit before, and I ended up looking stupid, was, I think I fell a little bit into the national narrative that, Ari McDonald's gone. They'll still be good, but they'll take a step back. I didn't realize that. Oh, yes, she is gone, but you've got a legion of players that are ready to step up right there and to be able to make that next move. And you've obviously got a closer right there in Shayna Pellington, who's clearly the person they're going to at the last second.
Right. Well, I think Ari was such a big personality, and the tournament was such a big deal that on the national stage, they didn't look at Kate Reese. They didn't look at the way that Adia is able to bring in players from outside transfers and mold them into her system quickly.
Right.
And I think that's a big thing. I think they underestimated Adia and her ability to make things work.
Do we underestimate, too, the amount of talent that was still on this team and the amount of talent that she was able to acquire this offseason, Kim?
Oh, absolutely. And I think Kate Reese she's really stepping forward, and she's someone who's kind of been, even though she was the second leading scorer, we didn't hear about her very much,
right.
Especially on the national stage. And so I think we really underestimated the talent, and especially the young talent that we didn't see as much, like Lauren Ware. Mm-hmm. And I'll admit, I underestimated Lauren. I've really been surprised by what a step forward she's taken this year.
Right.
So absolutely.
Did you look at it and think to yourself? My other question that I had that I was a little curious about is where are the points going to come from? And Kate Reese has taken that jump, obviously, to be one of the better scorers in the conference. You're watching this team last year when you looked at it, and obviously Ari was ball dominant, as she should be because she's the best player in the country. But Kate, let's talk a little bit about Kate Reese here. Did you see her being able to be that one that maybe not the go-to player at the very end of games, but being somebody that was going to be able to get you 15 to 20 on a pretty game by game basis?
I wanted to see Kate do that. I thought she had the potential, and I wanted to see whether she had what was inside to do that. And Adia always says she's got that competitive fire. So you had to assume she did, but you really wanted to see her prove it. And I think she has.
Yes, big time. Now, the way that Arizona basketball has really been able to make their motto, and I've reading some of the scouting reports, reading some of your work, is that Arizona's just bigger than so many of these other teams out there, and they're more skilled. Was that following Adia? Was that something that was going to be a point of emphasis going into the year? Is that what she was going to kind of stake her claim on?
I don't know whether it was so much size as it was depth that she was looking at. Like everyone was going to do just a little bit more, but she definitely has in her recruiting. You'll see usually her top player is a front court player,
right?
Every year. So she's bringing in really talented big players,
right?
So I think we're transitioning from what we saw as a backcourt heavy team last year into what may be a little bit more front court emphasized going forward, especially this year. I mean, next year we've got some good guards coming into Tucson, so we'll see how that goes. But this year especially, I think that the way she's recruited, the talent is kind of focused there, especially the talent that's been in the program for a while or that comes in young and stays all 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Now, looking around the Oregon State game last night, then was this what was your take on watching the game? Should this game have been that close? Was this something where the Pac-12 is brutal? There's going to be games like this, and Arizona was just able to chalk up a win.
My thing with Oregon State is they've been a little up and down, and I thought going in, before I knew that they were down a starter, I thought Arizona should have handled it pretty well. Now, once I knew they were down a starter, I thought Arizona should have been even more dominant. So I was a little bit surprised, but you always see Oregon State. I mean, they protect home.
Right.
And last year they didn't start out well, but then they came on strong towards the end and had a nice run in the tournament. So Scott Rueck is a great coach, and he's going to get his players going eventually.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Now, looking ahead to the rest of the conference, how do you see this playing out then for the Wildcats? Are they the best team in the conference? Is this a national title contender? Put the Kim Doss expert glasses on and tell us what you see.
Well, I think the conference is not as strong this year as it has been in recent years. I mean, let's just be honest about it. I mean, we've only got 3 teams right now in the AP top 25. I think Stanford is still the class of the tournament, but I think I underestimated how much the loss of Kiana Williams was going to affect them, their point guard.
Right.
They have a hard time taking care of the ball.
Right.
So I think Arizona stacks up very well against them. And those are the 2 top teams. But Colorado wants to say something too.
Right.
They're undefeated, and they have that big game against Stanford today where they could really make a mark and say, we're here.
Right, for sure. Okay.
I'm not sure Arizona will make another run to the national title game, but I didn't think they would last year. So what I know.
Yeah, I know. Right. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about then kind of some of the before we let you go. Let's talk a little bit about some of the advanced analytics that you got right there. I'm always a nerd for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I work with an advanced analytics company called Hoop Stats. It's online. It was started by a guy who used to do analytics for the Sixers.
Mm-hmm.
And he saw this opening in women's basketball because so little of it was out there.
Right.
So we've got they'll give us win probabilities. He's predicting, our numbers are predicting that Oregon's like a 60% favorite tomorrow. Right. So, I mean, it's just really interesting to be able to dive into those numbers and where there's been a big, a void in women's sports. You don't have the advanced numbers. You don't have lines to look at, all of those things. So I think that's something that in women's sports we're going to be seeing going forward is more investment in that kind of area.
Right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Now, this recruiting class then that Arizona's got coming in next year, you got some more height with Maya Nagy. You've got a couple other guards in there. Kim, this thing isn't going anywhere.
No, it's not. And I was really excited. Like I said, since so many of our top recruits have been in the front court, I really wanted to see some really good guards, and getting Paris Clark and getting Lamaya Hilton and getting Caitlin Gilbert. I think that's a really big deal for Adia. I think in the past she's been in the running for great guards, and then they always choose someone else.
Right. Right.
And I think she's really connecting with those players now. So I'm really excited to see, because I think that's where they'll need help going forward, because they've got some great front court players, and they're going to for the next few years.
It's funny too when you look at it. She's already got recruiting going. She's already got recruiting class or commitments from the following class as well.
Right.
I mean, that's just the kind of work that she's doing.
Right. I mean, and to think, Arizona under Coach Bonvicini, Arizona was good, but she had to find diamonds in the rough.
Right.
That maybe other people underestimated, and Adia has just taken it to an entirely different level that we've never seen here.
Okay, Kim, this has been absolutely fantastic. Tell people where they can find you, what you're working on, all that stuff before we let you sign off.
Well, I'm the deputy editor at Arizona Desert Swarm. I cover pretty much all women's sports there, but right now the focus is basketball. Soon we'll be on softball.
Right.
And then herhoopstats.com. We have a Substack where we put out, I covered the Pac-12 for them, and put out a weekly column usually on Thursday there.
Great. Okay, Kim, can't thank you enough. This has been fantastic. Always like catching up on the Cats, and you've got a great job being able to be one of the beat writers for a team like that.
Oh, I appreciate it. You know, when Ryan brought me in a few years ago, and then now with Brian, I'm just so happy to be part of covering a great team and being with a great organization as well.
Okay, Kim, can't thank you enough. We'll definitely have you back on again. This was fantastic.
Thanks so much. Okay. Have a good one, Mike.
Okay, I appreciate you. All right, that was awesome right there. We're going to talk a lot more about that women's basketball team here in just a second. But one thing that I do need to throw your way is the Draftkings Sportsbook App, code word PHNX. Here's the deal. You throw down $5 on an NFL game this week, pick a team that you think's going to win, and guess what? You get $280 in free plays. It's that simple. It's that easy. You know what? If I can do it, somebody like John Schuster can do it. There's a lot of different people that can do it. So it's that easy, that simple. Make it happen. Now, again, eligibility restrictions do apply. Arizona only, 21 and up. Let's see. And if you got a gambling issue, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. They will get you all taken care of right there. And you know what? Get you back to the Draftkings Sportsbook app. Again, code word PHNX. Pick a team this wild card weekend that you think is going to win. Get a little bit of money out of it. All right. So that's the fun thing about this right now. Arizona athletics right now. You talk about if ASU athletics is trending up, trending down, Arizona athletics is trending up right there. And you know what? We deserve it. And let's just talk a little bit about the women's side here. Then we'll get to a little bit of football and basketball. The women's basketball team, when you watch them, they are at the stage now where this is a good, really good program that even when they're playing, they don't play their best basketball, they find a way to win. And you see that all the time with the best teams out there, in that they are able to find ways to win basketball games. And that's exactly what they were able to do right there. And again, my question was, who's the closer on this team going to be? Well, Shayna Pellington says, I've done this now twice. I'm the closer right here. And you know what? I'm glad to be slapped down on that. So that's what's fun about this, though. This is going to be a really good season for the Wildcats. And, like Kim said, I don't necessarily see them winning the national title, but I didn't see them going to the championship game, though, either last year. So, take that for what it's worth. All right. Also, want to tell you about Go PHNX. Get the membership right here. Got everything you need covered, from U of A to ASU to the Suns to the Coyotes to the Cardinals to essentially everyone. We got soccer coming up as well. And if you go on the Go PHNX locker, you got some great deals in there. I'm telling you, if you get a membership, you get a free Back of the A t-shirt free for it. That's worth its weight in gold right there. You got some other things like, stickers or whatnot for $4.99. Check it out. All right. Now let's talk a little bit of Arizona men's basketball yesterday. What we saw out there was a team that is just, Arizona basketball is just good. There's really no other way around that. Arizona basketball is just good. You saw it too. Colorado in that first half, was kind of up. They were able to cut that lead from 16-4. But then at the beginning of the second half, it was almost like, all right, we're Arizona. And you just go on that run right there where you're just able to basically beat that team into submission. And I think that's where this team is. This team's really at right now. If the only teams that are going to beat Arizona are, you got to be either really good, you got to be at home, Arizona's got to be totally off. And a lot of times, even if those three things hit, you're still not going to beat the Cats. And that's exactly what we saw in that Colorado game last night, where Arizona's just dangerous. This is a team that, and we've talked about this a lot on the post-game show, but this is a team that can absolutely win the national championship. That's not just bluster. That's 100% the way that we are right now. This team can win everything. because everything just fits. And there's still pieces right there that haven't really reached their apex yet. Yes, Ben Matherin's been awesome. I think Coloco's kind of where he's going to be. But then Azuolas Tubelis, this is a guy before the season that Tommy Lloyd was talking about being, a guy that goes against his opponents and looks at them and says, I'm going to be better than you. And that really hasn't happened yet. I mean, he's been good, but I think some people had some All-American type expectations for Azuolas, and that hasn't happened yet. But he's still more than capable of being that guy, though. And if that next step hits, if Kirk Reese gets a little bit more comfortable with what he's doing right there, then I think that you've got a situation where Arizona is really looking down to nobody. And especially in this conference. Anybody that watched UCLA last night, you can figure out two things really quickly. Yes, UCLA is really, really good. I'm not going to sit here and say they're not. But UCLA, you also saw why they didn't want to play Arizona on short rest. And I would have had no problem if they had just said that, but they didn't. Oh, that's out of our control. Well, if you wanted to play that game, you probably could have played that game. But I get it because they wouldn't have beaten Arizona. Now, Arizona, UCLA, head-to-head, that's going to be one for the ages right there because they're totally different squads. UCLA is a squad that is very talented from a skill perspective. Tiger Campbell, Johnny Juzang, Jaime Jaquez, Jules Bernard. These are talented guys on the perimeter right there. They are not, though, game-breaking athletes. And even up front, where you've got a Cody Riley, a Miles Johnson, these are guys that are good, but there's not that jump-off-the-screen athlete with you or that incredible length. Arizona's got athletes in length. They don't have the experience, certainly, that UCLA does, and you could probably argue they don't have the skill that UCLA does. But down low, they're a lot bigger than UCLA when you've got a Christian Coloco, when you've got an Azuolas Tubelis, heck, bringing in Umar Ballo off the bench, and they're longer on the perimeter. I mean, you've got, Dalen Terry, who you'll probably end up putting on, probably Johnny Juzang, so you feel good about that. Ben Matherin maybe goes on Jaime Jaquez, depending on the matchups. Not exactly sure on that. But Arizona, from just a pure sheer talent perspective, is better than UCLA. UCLA's got that cohesion factor. That's going to be a really, really fun game to watch right there. Obviously, the Bruins took an L yesterday against Oregon. Oregon's a team that I certainly would not count out by any stretch of the imagination. We'll see how that one plays out, though. One thing, though, that you don't need to see how it plays out is the Draftkings Sportsbook app. Again, code word PHNX. Throw down $5 if you're a new customer on wildcard games this week. You get 280 in free plays. That's simple, that easy. And how fun is that? Because you ever look at a game and you're like, sure, it's the Bucks, it's the Eagles, it's football, but put a little bit of scratch on it makes it a lot more enjoyable. And I think that's what's the fun thing about this. So again, check out the DraftKings Sportsbook app, code word PHNX, and they will get you all covered right there and get some money, make some plays. All right, let's talk a little bit of football before we sign off here as well. And a lot's been made about Jedd Fisch. A lot's been made about this recruiting program. 24/7 Sports just put it out that Arizona currently has the best recruiting class in the conference. And I don't think that you can really argue, because what other teams in the conference have brought in a Pac-12 freshman of the year or somebody like that at the quarterback position, arguably the best wide receiver in the country, 1,300-yard wide receiver from UTEP. Oh, and by the way, you've also got guys like Rayshon Speedy Luke, MVP of the Army All-American Bowl, and a guy like a Kevin Green. Oh, by the way, is a USC decommit. So that's the kind of guys that you're getting right now. And so from a talent perspective, Arizona looks really, really good from a skill level perspective. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, the defense wasn't terrible last year. They just didn't have a lot of players. Now, I think you're going to find out that Don Brown was really, really good at what he did. And that's certainly not somebody that we need to that's certainly somebody that we need to look at and say, his loss won't matter, because his loss certainly will matter. But bringing in a guy who, how do I put this? Johnny Nansen, great recruiter, track record, doesn't, obviously not the Don Brown track record, but you got to start somewhere. And I think that's the next step that you need to start looking to address. And Jed Fish is smarter than me, and I think he knows that. That's why you're bringing in a guy like Atia Savea, former 4-star kid from UCLA, on the defensive line. You would imagine that he's going to start pretty quickly. Now, my one question would be, what are we going to do on the offensive line? What are you going to do on the offensive, in the trenches? Because as we saw with Rich Rod teams, that's an area where, yes, you can have all the skill guys in the world, but when you go against really good teams, it makes it difficult. And I think that's where Arizona right now is. They got to be able to shore up those trenches, but you got 5 or 6 scholarships still remaining on that. So I would imagine you're going to see a little bit of movement on that one. And I think it's probably going to work out all right for Arizona, being that you got some. Before we wrap that up, though, do want to tell you about the announcement from the Arizona Department of Health Services. And children 5 and up are now eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. The vaccine is the best tool we have to reduce the chances of getting sick with COVID-19. The COVID-19 vaccine can reduce the risk of being hospitalized or dying from disease. Safe, free, and highly effective COVID-19 vaccines are available throughout Arizona. Visit az.gov/find vaccine for a location near you. Everybody knows somebody that's been affected by COVID. So, if you can go out there and get the vaccine, get vaccinated, and, it just makes us healthier out there. All right. We got a big game tomorrow. Obviously, Arizona basketball coming back up. And this is a team that I think if they take care of business tomorrow, we'll be looking at possibly being in the top 2 to 3 in the nation when the rankings come out. And I don't see that one slowing down at all. This is a fun time. We haven't had a team like this in quite a while. Certainly not a team this enjoyable. And we'll be back with you tomorrow, covering everything as it comes down. And again, everybody on there, to Kim Doss, really appreciate you. Everybody on there that's also, paid in. Matt, you never need to apologize when you're at work, buddy, and you can't listen. I appreciate you being on here, man. But we will be back with you tomorrow about 8:10, right after the Arizona game, on the AZ Wildcats podcast.